Thumbs up, so we're ready to go.
Most definitely.
Okay, looks like 4:30, so we'll go ahead and call to order the area plan Tippecanoe County Executive Committee to order. First, we have a roll call.
Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Larry Leverins.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Here.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Jackson Bogan.
Present.
Greg Jones. Kathy Parker.
Here.
Very good, we have a quorum.
I move to approve the minutes of September 4th, 2024 public hearing as submitted.
I second.
So a motion is second to approve the minutes. Do we have any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next is our new business, Jerry.
I move to hear and vote to authorize belated subdivision extension request for S4595 and S4596, 5K Farms minor subdivision, Part 1 and 2.
I second.
So, staff.
Okay. This is it's two minor subdivisions side by side, so for a total of 8 lots. And this was approved back in 2016. And the approval is only good for 5 years. So it expired in 2021. So they need to, you need to vote to authorize the belated hearing of 2-year extension requests. So that's the first thing that needs to happen.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of allowing the belated extension, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that motion carries. So we've approved the belated request.
Oh, and now you need to make a motion, I think, to put it on the
Jerry's got
floor.
there at the bottom.
I move to hear and vote on subdivision extension requests for S4595 and S4596, 5K Farms minor subdivision, Part 1 and 2.
I second.
Okay, the property is on County Road 100 West, just north of Cairo, if you all know where Cairo is, just south of the interstate, zoned agricultural. Here's a look at the aerial photograph and a closer look. The access is actually from this little access road off of 100 West. And here's a look at the 8-lot proposal. Nothing much has changed in 3 years as far as subdivision regulations, so we are recommending approval contingent on the conditions already put forth.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or their representative, have anything to add? You say you don't think they're here, and they don't necessarily need to be here to prove that? Okay. Any questions from the audience or comments on this? Questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot for the extension.
Very good, thank you. Now our public hearing, Jerry.
I move to continue S5205 Barnes Minor Subdivision, a replat of lots in addition to the original plat of Stockwell Minor Sketch to November 6th Executive Committee public hearing at the petitioner's request, and S5218 HMS Rentals Minor Subdivision, a replat of Bartholomew and Davis, Lot 49, to the November 6th Executive Committee public hearing. So requested, required Lafayette BZA case can be decided.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Approval of the October APC public hearing agenda.
I move the following rezone petitions be placed on the October 16th, 2024 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda. Z 2943, Vita Investment Holding LLC, Paul Turner Vita Lifestyle, Lafayette PD, PDMX to PDMX. Z 2944, the Heartland Concept LLC R1B to NBU. Z 2945, Enclave on Klondike LLC GB to R3. Z 2946, Wheezy Wheezy LLC NB to GB. Z 2947, Redtail Properties Group LLC R1 to I3. Z 2948, Skyledge Enterprises I3 to R3. And Z 2949, Skyledge Enterprises to I3 to R2.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. October ABZA public hearing. Jerry.
I move the following petition be placed on October 23rd, 2024 Area Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing agenda. BZA 2174, Madeline Romeo. BZ 2165, David Chambers. BZ 2176, Pencil Point Flats LLC, and BZA Scott and Kayla Brown.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move the following requests for variance of a unified zoning ordinance are not a request for the use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statutes. 2024-16 Patel and 2024-17 Wheezy Wheezy LLC.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. September budget report.
I
Jerry.
move that we approve September 2024 budget report as submitted.
Right.
Nothing unusual. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Moved.
Hearing,
I
wait a
move
second,
Jerry.
wait a second. Oh, okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Any other business?
Well, I wanted to kind of more publicly welcome Amanda Esposito as our new Assistant Director for Current Comprehensive Planning. I know I'd sent out an email to everybody here, but this is the first chance I can get in front of the microphone to do it since I won't be here for October full APC. So anyway, just join me in welcoming her into this new role, and we're excited to have her.
Now you have another spot to fill.
Yes, I do.
The domino effect. Okay.
The only other thing is just a reminder that we'll be in Lafayette City Hall for full APC.
Thank you for that reminder. And then are you going to an MPO conference or something? Are you going for a conference?
Yes, the MPO conference is in Indianapolis.
Okay,
So
so
I'll be
you'll
there
be
with the
part of that.
transportation section.
Very good. Anything else? Hearing none. Jerry, I'll take that final motion.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned. And I think that's for early voting. Voting in here. Yeah, voting. Yep.
It's going to be in Lafayette. Or at the Lafayette
City Hall, right.
over here.
Yeah. Be shorter walk for you, won't it?
Yeah, about the same, probably. They're pretty close to each other.
Okay.
You're going to run the ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Are we ready to go to the next one? Okay, we'll call to order the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County Ordinance and Bylaw Committee for October 2nd, 2024. And do we need a roll call for that one?
We can do it if you want. I don't think yes.
We don't have one. I don't.
See one on here. But
Okay, but I will say that we do have a quorum present for that. And first on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the September 4th, 2024 meeting. If someone would move for approval.
Oh, so moved.
So we have so moved.
Make a motion to approve the
Okay, so a motion is second for the minutes approval. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next, ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Evening, everybody. Nathan McBurnett, APC. I guess this is just kind of a follow-up conversation on my longer presentation last ordinance committee. I've got the same exact presentation here. Happy to go through it again, see all the same things, or I can kind of distill what I believe to be kind of the main points to take away from this. I know we've received some questions, so I'm happy to walk through this and then answer any questions. So again, the accessory dwelling unit proposed definition is there on the screen. We've got 3 different types of accessory dwelling unit proposed, which would be an internal one, which means that there'd be no modifications to the outside of a structure, or at least no expansion onto an existing structure. It would just be kind of a renovation of a room, a garage, or a basement into a unit, a residential unit. The attached unit is an addition onto an existing structure, and then the detached would be an accessory structure that has all of the facilities needed for a residential unit. I've got kind of 6 bullet points here. I'll walk through them. So generally speaking, ADUs would be permitted by right on all legally complying lots in single-family and rural zones. I'll bring up the map here that kind of shows anything that's in color on this map would be a zone that permits ADUs. So it's quite a bit of land within the county. ADUs and their associated principal dwelling units would be required to remain in common ownership, enforced through a recorded deed restriction. Basically, the lot owner could live in either the accessory dwelling unit or the principal dwelling. It doesn't really matter as long as the lot owner lives on the property. Lots would need to comply with the standards of their respective zone by right or by variance to be eligible for an ADU. Subsequently, ADUs developed on those lots shall be exempt from lot coverage, vegetative coverage, and parking standards for that zone. So as long as the lot meets the standards either by right or by variance, then the ADU that could then go on that lot would be exempt from those same standards. Transient guest houses will not be permitted in ADUs, and any home occupation within an ADU will need to be accessory to the ADU's use as a residence. So I know we had some questions on this last time. What we mean by accessory to the ADU's residential use is to kind of stop people from building ADUs simply for a business enterprise. We want people to build ADUs specifically for residential purposes, and then the person who lives in that ADU or people who live in that ADU could then have a business. But since there's a housing shortage in this county, and this proposed use is for that reason, we would like them to be used residentially. An ADU's access to all public utilities and facilities, including water, sewage, and driveway, will be combined with the principal dwelling unit. We're hoping this will also deter kind of illegal divisions of the ADU from that principal unit. If all the facilities are combined, it's really hard to kind of untie those 2 properties. And then a pathway to legality will be created for existing ADUs that are currently non-conforming. So we do have a few granny flats in our community. There would be a pathway designed for those granny flats to become legal through a permit. One other question that we received had to do with some of the language in the proposed or the long form proposed ordinance you have about meeting the definition of family. So just to clarify, a property with an ADU, it's not that the property has to meet the definition of family, it's that the ADU and the principal unit separately have to meet the definition of family. So you could have 2 separate families, one in the ADU, one in the principal unit. And that does it for me. I can flip through more of the slides if anybody needs it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, before you go, any other questions from the commission before we take more input? Any clarification needed?
I just wanted to note one thing, that the city of Lafayette presently is opting out of this ordinance. So if you look at that map, you can scratch out anything within the incorporated limits of Lafayette. So, so just for your information.
And then when you said color, that also includes the green, not
Yep.
just yellow? Okay.
Green, yellow, orange.
Right, got it, thank you.
Gary?
Yes.
Can we, you just commented on that, and that was one of my questions, was the family thing. Can we clarify that some way?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems kind of ambiguous, so
Yeah.
we can certainly
I
clarify
had
it.
no idea what that was, what that meant. So.
Sure.
So the county is wanting this?
Yes, I think we will definitely consider this, yes. And Larry, what section?
5F, I think it is.
Yeah.
5F. Okay.
Yeah, just a refresher on the history. The city of West Lafayette is the one that requested that this case be studied and that an ordinance be brought to them. The offer was then made to the other localities if they were interested, and all were but Lafayette. So, right, yeah.
Any other questions? We can ask those later, but otherwise we'll take some public input. If there's anybody else wish, please come forward. Just give us your name and address. Do you have a sign-in sheet, Ryan? So when you get done, you just need to sign in after you get done.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jay Cook, live at 7106 East 100 North, Perry Township. I would like a point of clarification on the combined water and sewage. I'm on a well and have septic. To build an ADU on my property, which was something I kind of looked into doing for my mother, I would actually end up looking at a separate septic field and tank and a well. And I would like to be able to have that clarified within this language.
Okay. Very good. I think the part of, they just didn't want new sewer taps in the city, so I don't know, Kathy, do you have?
That's what I would have assumed.
I'm sorry, are you saying that it wouldn't work for you?
No.
It would have to be?
It would have to be. Given the topography of my property,
Oh, okay,
I would not be able to run water from where my well is now to
Okay.
where I could build an ADU
okay,
with the proper setbacks and everything.
okay. But you were interested in having an
Yes.
ADU, possibly?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
how would, Kathy, how would you propose that be amended or language added in? Because obviously you'd want to do that only for folks that were on private wells and
Right.
septics.
That is something we're going to have to look at, I think. Probably we'll need to talk with the health department and get their input. It's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Right.
Any other public input, questions from the audience?
Steve Schreckengas, 3315 Shrewsbury Drive, West Lafayette. A couple questions. Number one, when we talk about by right, if a subdivision developer wants to exclude ADUs like they exclude storage sheds in backyards, does the by right trump that, or can you restrict ADUs in a new subdivision?
Yeah, there are
Okay.
a lot of restrictive covenants out there currently that would not allow this sort of thing to be built.
Okay. So as a potential homeowner in a new subdivision, I can expect the expectation that my neighbor won't have a large structure in my backyard if it's restricted by the covenants.
Yes, if you've
Okay.
got that covenant.
Also, I shared with some of you Carmel is going through this exact same discussion right now, and they've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years. I would suggest that you try to get a copy of their ADU proposed ordinance and see, instead of reinventing the wheel, see if there's something that we can take away from that. If it's good enough in Carmel, maybe it's good enough in Lafayette, or I should say West Lafayette in the county.
We'll definitely take a look at it. We did pretty extensive research. We looked at 13 localities across the country, including 7 within the state. We primarily looked at Putnam County and Bloomington, and who have successful ADU ordinances on the books. We'd be happy to look at Carmel as well.
Okay. I would just say it appears that they're, in that article, they're discussing the exact same things and concerns and pluses and minuses that we're talking about, so it might be a useful resource. I can just speak from a builder standpoint. This is not something that I think is on most new home builders' radar, that this would be a good feature. I just see a lot of issues in a normal lot, that trying to run the sewer line around the back of the house unless you provided for it when you built the house. Just some issues and concerns like that. But if West Lafayette wants it and you think it's going to help solve the housing crisis, go do it.
Question, Steve. In your traditional neighborhood, do you think you would include it in your HOA?
No, I would. And Barney's here tonight. He develops a lot more lots and subdivisions than I do, and I might let Barney comment on that. But I would probably exclude it,
in your covenants,
just like I would exclude a certain size of storage. We typically in our subdivisions allow, outside storage sheds, but we limit the size of it. Maybe at 12 by 12 or something like that. Is there minimum square footage on, or maximum square footage on ADU? What is that?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, I have not seen, I guess I haven't paid attention to the actual ordinance, but how much, 700 square feet? Okay.
And it can't be more than 50% of the principal residence? So it's limited in two aspects, I believe.
You also have the issue with, is it going to affect the drainage of the lot in the back? There's a lot of things that need to be considered. It'd be much more difficult to build a structure behind a house that's got 6-foot side yards to get a concrete back there and all that. But that's up, I guess, to the person that wants one in their backyard.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Anyone else?
Afternoon, Barney Schumann, 653 Appaloosa Trail. The city of Evansville has ADU version, and it's extremely complicated, and it's only allowed for family members. I read through it a couple days ago. I don't know who polices it for them. We do have 3 active subdivisions that prohibit ADUs of any kind. One, the R1 zoning, by definition, doesn't allow, R1A, R1U, R1B does not allow any accessory dwelling with an address. So theirs does not have an address associated with it. It is simply a granny pod by their definition, and it is only for family use, can't be used for Airbnb or rentals. One, traffic, added traffic for non-family. If it is a granny pod, per se, on the Evansville portion, they generally don't add to, traffic. If it is, a kind of more of an Airbnb style, how do you police it? Those were just a couple of things I saw with the Carmel one, with the back and forth for the last 4 years on theirs. Generally I would think anything that's internal, by that definition, would need to be in an R2 zone. I don't know how you do it any other way in an established R1 or R1B, zone at that time. So a detached one's easier to, police or give an address and separate utilities to it. So those are just a couple of comments that wanted to bring up.
And most of your current covenants already restrict them?
Correct. So a lot of the restrictions that are in the covenant are referred to by the zone, to where you can't have an accessory dwelling or two living spaces, on there. So the covenants basically, reiterate what the zone only allows.
So do you think that there are a lot of what I'll call traditional subdivisions that don't have that in their covenants?
Some of our older subdivisions that are,
don't even have
filled
HOAs.
and completed don't have them in there, but the larger R1 subdivisions on a 10,000 plus square foot sized lot, every one of those have them in, and that kind of goes back to, we added those in when Carmel started studying the ADUs, that we put that, prohibition in the covenant for it.
Very good, thank you, Barney. Any other comments before we have Chad come up and clear this all up for us?
I'm going to make it more complicated. Chad Spitznagel, Building Commissioner, City of West Lafayette. I took a call this afternoon from a lady, and she wanted to buy a house in West Lafayette, even though she lives in Crawfordsville or wherever, and she wanted to live in it and then Airbnb the other side. And it came up that, hey, are you registered to vote there? Are you homesteaded there? Et cetera. So I'm thinking maybe, because we want to avoid the two-family dwellings as much as anyone too. I think that's where we're at the beginning. But I think we need to make, maybe a note that talks about, it needs to be your primary residence, homestead of that nature, to where it's not, hey, I own this and I'm going to live in the garage when I come up for a football game, and then still have a two-unit dwelling. So I think that would be a suggestion on our end, because we're lucky enough to have the rental program to where we can track everything else, in our notes, and we've already created another category, for the transient guest home. So we really want to avoid the two-family dwellings out of it too, but we think that if there's a note that says this needs to be your homestead or primary residence, that would be helpful. So.
Chad, do you think we need to do something else other than in here under Section 5G, the owner of the property must live on the premises either in the principal dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit and maintain that address as their primary place of residence? Do you think you need more than that?
I would suggest just a tick more than that, yeah. Okay. Just because, because she had, the lady that I talked to had some good questions on it too, and it was like, let me clarify. I clarified some stuff with Burns' office on it, and it's like, just because it's not your homestead doesn't mean, you can kind of get away from that a little bit, but just something else that would really drive that it should be their primary residence and they should live there.
Would you recommend that they live in the larger of the two, or does that?
That doesn't matter to me on that.
It's on now.
Now you can hear me. Hey, would you recommend?
Good.
So with those comments, I assume staff can go back and work with that and maybe.
Yeah, and that last one, I believe there's language in there. We're going to go back and look at it and tighten it up, but the intent was always the owners on the property. Whether the owner chooses to live in the ADU or the main house is up to them, but it must be an owner-occupied property. So you can't have a landlord come in and rent everything. Yeah.
So when you include the family, does that mean second or third or fourth cousins? I'm just asking.
I'm sorry, Jerry, what?
When it says family, it must be family. Is that the way I understand it? That it has to be family. So does this mean your second cousin or third cousin or?
Family's defined as blood relation.
Okay.
In
just
part.
Asking a question.
So along with that, are you maybe I missed that. Are you saying the other unit can only be occupied by a family member?
No.
Just the definition of family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has some,
The owner of the lot has to live on the property.
got it. Oh, that's what that
The
means.
owner gets to decide which dwelling they want to live in.
I think people are confused because of our definition of family, which is pretty bizarre, but anyway. Yeah, what it's saying is you can't have 2 or 3 or 4 different families living in the ADU. It's one family there, another family in the main house.
Right.
We don't care which one is the owner's, but the owner has to be on site.
So the ADU couldn't be rented to unrelated college students?
Yes. As long
Correct.
As long as the group in that ADU meets the definition of a family. So up to 3 unrelated.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the folks living in either dwelling could be related to each other, or they couldn't. But as long as the owner lives in one of them, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But the ADU can be rented?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so it could be rented to anybody?
To anyone.
Okay, got it.
Is family, you said it better, Jackson.
Is, and I figured this mic out, so it's pretty cool. Is family a universal term, or is that West Lafayette defined only?
It's a zoning ordinance defined term. All localities abide by it.
So it would be applicable to Tippecanoe County as well? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just curious, how will parking, if it's not defined by your subdivision, how do you not make your neighbors upset that now I've not only got an accessory unit and they're parking all in the street because I don't have room in my driveway?
I'll let him answer, and then I'll talk about the county.
I would say we're not trying to increase the vehicular orientation of our community by allowing a higher density of residences within the community through an ADU. I think there's a lot of properties that exist that are probably overparked or have lots of accommodations for many more cars that are there. And then ultimately, I think it's up to the property owner to select a renter or tenant that's going to be able to legally live there and also not affect their neighbors adversely with a bunch of cars.
And the conversations that I've had with folks who have been requesting this, either at the time they're doing building permits or at other times, there's been none of those that I can recall have ever been in a traditional subdivision. They've been in a much more rural setting.
And you're restricted with 700 square feet, and so it's not, you're going to be able to...
750.
750, you can't put a lot of people in that unit.
Yeah. And building code will have its own constrictions, too, on the structure, so, yeah.
Any other comments, questions before we let the staff work on that? And I assume we just hear that again next month and probably have more questions and comments, but I think it's better to do that and try to get it right the first time.
Sounds good.
Okay, very good. Next on the agenda, it's updating the dedication of right-of-way language. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Jackson.
Okay, so for many years, our subdivision ordinance, actually all final plats, major, minor, rural estate, final plats, have this phrase, all streets and alleys and public open spaces shown and not heretofore dedicated are hereby dedicated to the public, which we all thought, made perfect sense. What we're discovering is, there are some offices in the building that did have a problem with that language. They didn't feel it went far enough. So we recently met with the auditor's office and the highway department and APC staff. Eric was there and Doug Masson, the county attorney as well. And we kind of hashed all this out, and we created this new language that will hopefully address all of the problems these other offices have been having. So that, in a nutshell, is this new paragraph we're coming up with. If you look on page 13, it just takes that one sentence and turns it into a paragraph that the lawyers all love.
My people got to it.
So we just want to change that. So going forward, that's what it will say instead of that just one sentence. So, any questions?
Nope, looks pretty good. Any public comment on that? Hearing none, if it looks acceptable, would you like a positive recommendation to put that on the APC agenda whenever you, so I would take that motion.
I'll make a motion that we move this to the APC agenda.
Second.
So a motion to second, moving on to the full APC for approval. Any other further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Do we have anything else? I see at the back there's a parcelization certificate, and that's unrelated, or?
Yeah, it'll have the same language that the subdivision, subdivision
Okay, so
final
it's just
plats would have.
added in that, too?
Yeah.
Okay. Citizens' comments? Hearing none. Anything else? If not, Jerry, I think we take a final motion.
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Very good.